Generally, you have to toggle when you make a hypergrid travel. You have to toggle voice off and on to tell it to connect.
Selby, did you need me to add you to the presenters, or did you get into the group?
Actually, I'm not, but I guess maybe I don't need to. If you got the presenters here, I think are going to be able to take care of everything themselves. I think Neo is a presenter, and I guess he knows a lot more than I do. So I don't really need to be in, I think.
Yeah, it depends what's going to be presented by whom.
I think that's probably true, but at least at the beginning, I don't need to be in the group. I do know a little bit about handling NPCs, but not much.
Okay, so everything we say will be recorded and may be used against us.
Yeah, okay. Well, it will be recorded and essentially will probably be used to promote NPCs, which is the main thing we want to do, as a matter of fact, here.
So maybe this time I'm not going to present one of these projects. I will stay to NPCs then.
Well, if you don't want, if there's something that you don't want recorded, you just have to say it. Tell Geo, and he will stop recording.
Yeah, for sure. No.
But recording is going to be the best. A video production is going to be, presentation is going to be the best way to tell about NPCs.
Absolutely, because it's
that's what I
definitely a visual experience.
Well, yes, and they're static, or well, they can be animated, but they look just like animated avatars. The thing that is impressive, it's, for example, to see them replicated and take on and change animations.
Yeah, we can do this.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
You need this to check some coordinates, or is that...
Ha! I did it. It only took me a couple minutes to get it right. I just had the object name wrong. Yeah. So they'll disappear in a second. But what that is a sequencer that Neo has been working on that will let us use NPCs to tell stories. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if you noticed, when they appeared, they said something. And you can make them walk, and like they can sit on the dance cage here, and Neo will show you some other things they can do. I think you've already seen it shifted shape from a seal to a human.
Yep. In fact, I've got a video of that, I think.
Yeah, it's just an ongoing evolution of learning more and more ways to make them do things. Originally, we were working with Fred's NPC controller, and he and Neo and Anya have added so much to it while we're working on this hypergrid story that we can now tell a story all the way to NPCs.
And you're gonna report on just what you're telling us, right? And get that onto the video, I hope.
I thought the video was running.
It is running. What I'm actually at this moment, well, there's a couple of things. At this moment, Geo knows that I think that's important, and I'm pretty sure that will persuade him to include that statement, that information. But the other thing is, I think it's important to get across to people, and I'm trying to get this across not just to people in virtual worlds, but writers, that they can come into these virtual worlds, and tell a story, which you're going to show in many different ways, I hope.
Right. This summer's project was not just to teach writers that they could tell a story this way, but to take the usual wonderful builders that you have here in OpenSim and show them what they can do. I mean, we brought in artists like Cherry Manga, Praline B, Aviaban, Sunbeam Magic. They all came and we showed them what they can do with the NPCs and the storytelling scripts, and they made them better and did cooler things than any of us ever imagined we could do. But when we put creativity together, it just exploded and took off.
Collaborative creativity. One of the themes I really want to emphasize. What you can do in virtual worlds and not many other places.
Yeah, right. It's amazing. Everybody in this group is always saying like, well, all these others are so big and so beautiful. They have so much knowledge, but each of us has its special facet adding to it, and the sum of all is much, much more than the individual parts. So what we come up with here in the end is something that is so much better than it has been before, and it's all that collaborative effort that we put into it. So I'm really a big fan of that kind of work.
Besides, it's fun. It's a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah, it's been fun. It's been a lot of work, but it's been work. There are days when I'm here anywhere from down at the computer and it's dark before up. And it's easy to do that because it's just so absorbing. It is immersive, even creating the projects.
Yes, right. You get immersed in the work of creating. I shouldn't call that work. It's really a hobby or a pleasure.
It is. It's somewhat addictive in that you're always just so close to solving your problem that you feel like if you just spend 5 more minutes, and sometimes you do solve that problem in 5 more minutes, and then another one comes up and you see, well, it'll only take me 5 more to solve that one.
Yes.
All these 5 minutes when it comes to computer problems, well,
Well,
let's put it that way. It has been weeks that I had put into these scripts, but that's normal. That's expected. That's how it works. But to see the outcome here after a while and see the people using it and say, well, that's exactly what I needed, or be able to just add a functionality. If somebody says, okay, I want these avatars to fly away at the end, well, I sit down and program this function, and then they fly away, and they make it fly away. So that's great. Yeah.
Oh, yes. So you could write, now you can actually write a whole scene for avatars to execute. And of course, then if you're using a video, you could take a video of that scene.
Right. Well, we're just going to start shooting the machinima for this story this week. Fuchsia is coming. And so when we get done, there should be a movie of this story.
There should be, yes.
That's the plan. I've learned plans don't always go quite like this.
Yep.
How many more people are you expecting?
I don't know. We can start whenever you're ready. Do you want to do your demonstration?
Yeah, of course. I just came up with one. Okay. Don't know if you have your sun settings to region setting. That would be great because it seems to be dark. And I want to do something with switching lights on and off. Oh, great. You can hear or not at all?
I can hear you.
Okay.
For
think
video purposes, we need daylight, I think.
It depends, yeah, but it doesn't really matter if you can see what's going on. So in our project, we needed some things that we can turn on and off using an NPC as the one who touches it. The problem there is you never know in which state is it before, so it could be on, it could be off. So making an NPC achieve a certain reaction, definitely you need something like an off switch. So what I've done here is made something like a light with a toggle switch, that's the gray one, or the light itself, with an on switch, that's the green one, and an off switch, that's the red one. So roll it yourself and you can see, and this will only work if you push the red one, it will never turn back on. If you push the green one, it will never turn off, and so. Okay, so this is part one of this contraption. And then we have something that we call a story sequencer. Fred has been working on a NPC controller for many months, maybe even years, that allows to have NPCs controlled, let's say, on a permanent running loop way. So you can res them, you can tell them to go somewhere, they can do a lot of commands. It is just complicated to control where they start and when they end, because it's something like an endless loop. For certain scenes we needed something like a sequencer, so he wrote something that can control these controllers by issuing commands to that. And I've built upon that and made a standalone sequencer that is more or less just reading a story line or story script that we write and issues these commands to the controller. So in this thing here, I just wrote a little story for routes to res here. I'll walk over there, turn to the lights, toggle again. After some seconds, I had 5 seconds in there, and then pushes the on button, which you don't see now because it's currently turned on, and then pushes the off button and vanishes again. And tells so in text. So, for example, if we have this off now, she will come out, turn it on, turn it off, on again, off again. But if you have it on, she will first toggle it on and off. So it's independent of the state that we have here. I can make her do a controlled sequence. So she's switching something on again, which you don't see, and then it's switching off. So I can tell her, if I have her only push that one button, it will only push that one button. I was just about to go through all the possible ways that we can do here. And by combining these technologies, we have much more finer control over what we are doing here. And we can make our NPCs tell stories. So that's my current work in progress. If somebody can make use out of that, I'm glad to share it. This is all open source. It's not some hidden stuff, and it's made by working together with other people. And that's about it.
Very interesting. And this, of course, is an example of how one could program events and actually a whole scene, and have instead of needing an avatar to execute all those movements, the NPC can execute it repeatedly as many times as you want, and do it exactly the same way every time.
Right.
So
Right.
that was one of the I remember a comment long ago, many years ago, from George Lucas about the advantages of computer-driven, in his case, computer-driven planes attacking the in the attack on the Death Star, because the point was that the the planes would execute the, well, whatever they are, not really planes, would execute exactly the same movement every time, and he can take the pictures as many times as necessary.
Right. And that's one of the features that Neo has recently enabled us to do. I mean, before we could have like a animal walk a loop through a forest and do it over and over again. But what has been able to be added with this intelligence that he's brought to touching is that one NPC can control an entire scene. So, like in the first scene of our Hypergrid story, one NPC reses, he delivers the text from the book right when we want him to. He leads you to the part of the scene where we want you to interact. He actually controls that character interaction. And at the end of the scene, he reses a blam gate for you to leave. So that way we can have a story tell itself to you whether we can be around or not. It works across time zones around the world. When you have time to be here, you can see the story.
So it's available 24/7, and I noticed Jewel Serene commented that this cannot be done in Second Life, and that is certainly correct. And that is one of the reasons why people really want to be considering OpenSim, because this is a huge benefit if you're making videos.
Right. This is and what can be done as far as storytelling, whether it be a visual storytelling in a video, whether it be interactive adventure game type of storytelling. This hasn't been done anywhere that I've seen in OpenSim even before this. The tools didn't exist before this summer. They evolved this summer between the group of us working together. Now you can produce a whole book with just the tools that we have available now.
And then you can, if you choose to, you can make a video of that. And as a writer, for example, if you're a writer of video material, you're obviously going to write scripts. But now, instead of writing scripts which people have to execute and play and move around, you could write scripts that fit into this system. And
right.
Exactly. That's exactly what I gave you. I gave you a little story note card. That's actually what this route is doing here. This is the kind of language that you could use. So we have come up with a syntax that just says NPC number, then a time to wait before the next command is executed, and then the actual commands. So what I have here is I first spawn an NPC called root NPC at a certain position with appearance, and then I make it touch something, which is currently called touch and link message light. So when I read in this script into my, or this story note card inside my script, I try to figure out which object matches this name, and so I'm able to transport this via OER to another grid or re-res it on some other thing, and just have to have the right names in there. So the idea behind that is to make a story script language. So you have things like rotate to make them look into a certain direction. You have play animation, walk to, fly to, make them say things. So it's a set of commands: sit on something, touch something. We've included all these things that we need for the current storyline, but there is no really end in there. So we can also include things like resing stuff, like make the script itself execute commands by sending messages to whatever other contraptions are in there. So we just have to think a little beyond what's currently possible. And the beauty of this is what I call the end user of this product doesn't have to be an LSL scripter. They come up with a storyline. They have an idea. Okay, I want this to happen that way. I need to touch that switch. I need to have somebody walk there. I need to have somebody sit there and say that. And I think this will lead to some. I hope this will lead to some really good scenes. Like, for example, you walk into a bar and you have some NPCs sitting there talking, playing cards, having a beer, whatever you imagine it. What I want to see is, I want to see our cities, our environments come to life. These tools are really helpful for that.
Oh yes, I think I see this as the potential is huge. I'm thinking. I think from the standpoint of somebody who would write scripts, for example, meaning scripts for a play, and I see that this would be a simple way. I don't have to. I don't have to be able to use LSL or a programming language or anything like that. I can just give the instructions and to instructions, and instead of giving instructions to my actors, avatar people, I can give the instructions to the NPC, and they don't cost anything. They are always available, and I don't have to gather people together to take a video. This is great.
It is, and Serena asked a good question, how accessible it is. I think it's been maybe 2-3 days, Neo, since you finished this script. He was able to give it to Sunbeam, to Praline, and to Pandora with just a few minutes instruction, and they took off with it and made they remade using. I think Sunbeam, didn't you have like 5 scenes that you redid with this? 10. Maybe Dora did several, I know that. Praline has like 5 layers of stories stacked on top of each other in one build, so she had a lot of scripting to do. I know I went through 2 regions. But that's how fast they learn. None of these people can script. I mean, Sunbeam's not a scripter, Dora's not a scripter, I'm not a scripter. But it just makes sense. You number your M 1, 2, 3, and then you just type that number and how long you want it to wait before it does what you've told it to do, and that lets you do all the timing for it.
Well, actually, I'm noticing also that the comments, it's very easy to, it's just like editing writing. And I also note another thing that I've always used in programming, which is when I've written a bit of script or a few lines of code, I always save them if they're good and I want to use, because I might want to reuse them. And I would be able, if many of these actions would only require a cut and paste to put together to create a different kind of action.
Right, and I'm going to demo box that I have down here, just walk into it, launch, and hopefully the NPC, great. There they go. In a minute. They did it a second ago.
There they are.
Yeah,
Namaka is there. Dylan is there, dancing.
And they just go sit. And it took me here maybe 5 minutes before we were supposed to start. My family surprised me with a visit, so I didn't get away quite when I thought I would. And that was how fast I was able to get this working.
Mm-hmm.
And it's got the story card inside. That's the only thing you card. And I think if you just look at the story card, this is too new to have much documentation for it yet, but you can take a copy and see if you can figure it out.
Well, you would need documentation to show you the commands that you can use, like touch, like, toggle.
Yes, of course,
right.
Yeah.
Right.
But other than that, I don't see very much. Essentially, a list of all and of course that list can change. You all will have the capability of expanding that list of commands that you can give.
Right.
Because there's really no limit to what you can command if you had time. Your time is limited. But so it would be actually just a matter of being familiar with the actions, and this is what really excites me. Exactly the actions you would want from your character on stage.
These actually use all the commands that work for Fred's all-in-one NPC controller, which he has documented on his website. So you can use those: walk, at say, at stand. And I think there are only a few that aren't enabled yet. Things like shout, that we haven't needed yet.
Yeah, but there was no need for that. That's pretty easy to add if you want to have that. What I didn't implement is that stop and go mechanism because it seemed to screw things a little bit up, so I didn't see a need for that yet.
Okay, is there somebody else who had something to present?
Hi, this is Serene. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Excellent. All right. I borrowed another mic. So I had another question before anybody moves on, and that's about can the NPCs be programmed to wait for some kind of input from a visitor? So if a visitor toggles them and they turn on, can they then wait to hear a specific word like yes or no or their name?
No, the NPCs themselves cannot hear.
Okay.
We have one scene where Anya has written something like that by putting something like a cylinder around an NPC so you can touch it, because the NPC itself cannot be touched, for example. You could make the script listen, which is currently not implemented yet. Then it would be the controller itself, so this thing here listening. So it depends on the range. Sometimes you have an NPC walk away like 50 meters or even more, and if they're needed to listen to something that you put into the NPC while standing next to it, it might not work because you have a default talking distance of 10 or 20 meters. So if you take all these things into consideration, yes, it can be done. It has not been done yet, so if we run into need to do that, we will program it. And I'm pretty sure it can be done somehow.
Okay, so something about the listen command that needs to be
Yeah.
implemented.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
super. Okay.
Sunbeam has a question. I guess Sunbeam is going to type it.
Yes, sure, go ahead.
I will
Yep.
read it. All are less than 10 impact. Now I don't understand all of my 10 sequences. All are less than 10 impact. Oh. Well, I'm not sure I understand that, but
That's a very technical one. We have to take a look at that. That's about script time impact that some of these controllers have, and it shouldn't make a difference because you're actually using the same ones. The length of the note card doesn't make a difference about usage. We'll just go over there and have a look at that. I actually don't know why it should be different. Maybe because you're using a slightly newer version on the last one. Maybe it introduced some weirdness, so we have to have a look at that.
Yes, I was amazed how very few resources these scripts use. It was less than a minute, I think, in one of my regions. What is it, millisecond, a full millisecond that they measure in? Yeah.
Milliseconds.
So
Yeah,
it
can you
was like
say something
hundreds.
about the resource management? Like how many NPCs have you noticed before things slow down, or
It's
are there some
absolute.
things that are more resource intensive than others?
Yeah, definitely. It depends on what you want the NPCs to do. For example, if you res NPCs and make them sit on something, you can have like 100 NPCs on one region and the region is stable. But if you have them walk around, collide with things, collide with each other, then the physics starts getting interesting. If you res a lot of NPCs, so like you always deres and res new, deres and res new, this also puts a lot of stress on the asset server. What we do instead is we have implemented an appearance command. So you res them once with a certain appearance you want to have, and when they should redress or whatever, we just make them load another appearance, which is just a note card that's inside the controller. Of course, it still needs to load all the assets, but somehow it's much faster. Actually, for the final scene we have 12 NPCs dancing at the same time on a PMAX system, that posing system that we showed you some while ago.
Wow, that's great.
And we make them redress in groups, so we can have something like 2 of them wear something and the other 10 wear something different, and we make them switch appearance. And for that we have implemented a technology that issues these appearance commands to a group of them at once. So we can group these and can say, okay, group 1 now redress, and they all bang put on something different, and it just takes the time to rest the new clothes, which is like a second or whatever. So that's really fun.
So you can group NPCs and give them all a command at once.
For this specific thing, we have a technology to group their appearance things. That's a special script.
That's nice.
But I think you could apply that to other things if you need.
Yes, definitely. The technology is evolving.
Well, you do have them execute dance commands as groups. They can do any kind of dancing.
Yeah. Actually, everything you can sit them on, or anything you can control. We have the dance balls here. We have the pole dances. We have the PMAX system where we can sit them on, and we all external possibilities that are still not completely explored. Like we could put somebody on a dance ball and then say, okay, now switch to dance so and so, which is not implemented yet, but it can be done because the basics for it are there. So we have rather fine control what can be done, and the way these scripts currently run is that they take really little processing time for that. That new sequencer has just one timer loop running inside, and it like ticks from command to command, and in between there's no load at all. Like it has to control physics or whatever all the time. It is depending on what you do and where you put it. Like I said, if you have NPCs walking around and colliding with all the stuff, then of course the simulator has to take that into account. But still, an NPC puts less load on the physics than an avatar. There's something like, Anya told me, like a quarter of the impact, because they're not tracing the physics environment in the same exactness as an avatar does. But these are really, I say, low-level details. But in the end, that means you can have 20, and you don't even notice that the region slows down. We had a certain effect where scripted attachments to NPCs can cause them to become unerasable and even cause the region to crash. That's a bug in OpenSim. And to reproduce that, we tried to res literally hundreds of them. And it wasn't that easy on some regions to really crash that thing. So we had more than 100 of them in one region that normally gives in at 30, maybe maximum 40 avatars. And these are really high numbers.
Oh, yeah.
The Sunbeam mentioned we have a snake that eats NPCs now. That's pretty cool.
That's great. Okay.
You have a snake?
Yeah, she's got a snake that's eating an NPC. I'm glad you got that working,
Oh.
son.
Huh.
There are so many things you will discover when you come through this story. It's only a few weeks away, so I think you'll all enjoy seeing what can be done now.
Did somebody demonstrate the snake?
Can you demonstrate? I think it might take more programming. She would have to set it down and put in the spawn points and
Oh,
that
I
sort
see.
of thing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, this is a
Why
snake that moves
not just show the original? Just take Selby over to the thing and do a secret demonstration. I mean, it's up there in the region. It's just not made published yet.
Yeah, it's
up
running.
We want to have things running smooth before we open it to the public, but of course every one of you is highly welcome to come in and test run and tell us what's going wrong, because the problem is that we all have our stuff in the caches and we cannot get rid of it properly, and we have rights and we have all the kinds of specialties that an outsider won't have. So if you come in and test run, you're welcome. And just leave us a message and tell us what's wrong, and we're trying to fix that.
Yeah, I think we don't want to do. We should not break up this meeting. I think right now for the snake. But I guess I'm gathering then that we will be able to see the snake when you open in any case, right?
Right.
Ah, okay. So we will look forward to seeing the snake. And when are you going to open?
Was it the 7th and 8th? Does anybody remember?
The 7th?
Yeah.
November
7th of November.
Sunbeam says. The 7th, well, you're going to open on the 7th, I assume, because
right, we're going to have 2 shows each day, one at 9 Pacific and one at noon Pacific. We'll have speakers for each one. We have Sandy Chen, who is a famous game developer, come the future of storytelling, and we have Fred, who's going to demonstrate the all-in-one NPC controller. We have Anya, who's going to demonstrate PMAX stuff. Ruby is going to talk about 3D storytelling. Is that 4? Did I miss anyone? So each day at each show, then we'll give everybody a tour of the story.
But the story will be open then. Once it's open 24/7, right?
Right.
Right. It's actually on the website. I think it's hypergridstory.wix.com. Back me up on that. Is that right?
I will just look at it.
I will get it.
I think Hypergrid.
Yes, I will get it and carry it in my blog, because this is going to go into a blog article, of course. All of this is.
Let's see. It's in the Hypergrid group. Avia put that there. Let me see.
Looking real quick.
I see Hypergrid Story Project, Immersive Edge. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Story Builder, Immersive Edge. Okay, I see several. I see some of these are videos.
There's one at
Go
portfolio. Here it is. I've got it. Copy. Let me paste this in chat for you.
Yes, that's what I'm looking forward to. Yes, I will send you an IM.
Oops.
Oh, there's something wrong. Hypergrid story portfolio. Unsupported browser. What's that? Browser happy. Nah, it seems to be a weird link here. Maybe Avia put it on something else. Ah, why? Coming soon. There it is. There it is. It works on the internal browser. So for me, it worked on the internal browser, but not on Firestorm. That's weird.
Had it on Firestorm.
Okay, so maybe it just takes a while. I don't know why. It comes up with some unsupported browser thing because I have some script. That's it. That WIX page always requires JavaScript to be active, and I have a JavaScript blocker in there that obviously seems to block it from running.
Every once in a while, yeah.
Yeah. So that seems to be the problem there.
I had one other question. This is Serene. So if somebody wants to start playing around with this story maker, and where should they be going for the latest copy of the package, or is there a central place? Is it here on Pandora?
Not
I
yet.
think if you want the full package, you have to wait until the opening. We have not had time to document all this. Yeah. We're making it as we go. But
this is an alpha project.
Out. If you want to take one here today, feel free to read this sort of thing already in your scene.
Right. And when it comes time,
that you want to do right now.
When anybody wants help with documentation, that's something that I can help with. I can't program, but if you will stand and tell me things, I'll write them up and put them in some formats that work for people.
Okay, sounds great. So currently the latest version is just on my computer, on my sim, and I'm spreading it and I'm programming on it daily. So currently there is no thing like end product there. It's work in progress. That's why I presented it here, and especially working documentation about it. That's what's lacking. So programmers never write good documentation. They always say read the code, Luke. But yeah.
Yeah.
Use the source.
Well, it's a great project, and I really think it's going to push interactive storytelling forward in a big way in OpenSim. It's just a great thing that you guys are doing. So thank you.
Yes, and I think it's going to attract a number of would-be intentional writers who would like to be writing in some other format than on paper.
Yes.
Because this is a great way to be able to do it, and I'm going to emphasize in at least one blog the ability to write the entire scene of a script of a scene. I've got your code, your note card copy, in a note card, and have all of the NPCs executed. That is huge.
I can give you a copy of the current work in progress sequencer too, so you can have a look at that.
Don't worry about that now. I will probably, by the time I'm ready to publish it, I will probably like to get any less late up-to-date stuff. But right now I know what it will be like, and it is, it's extremely attractive. The point, unlike if I were writing a play. I can write it and I can sort of imagine what happens, but it would cost me a lot of money to get actors to come in and execute the play for me to look at it. In the case of, with this kind of system, I can do all of the blocking, all of the arrangements. I can decide what I want my actors to do, and I can, at no cost, essentially it's just like sitting around at my typewriter, at my computer. And that's huge.
I mean, one of the basic intentions about this whole storytelling thing, as I understood, is to show ways of storytelling, and that's exactly what we achieved here. I mean, we can program scenes like chapters, and for example, Sunbeam had like 10 chapters on her story, and now she can just put them one by one. So you start something, make some NPC walk there, say that, sit here, do that, and this is just like writing a chapter of a story. And what I hope to see someday is that there will be some connection between some, for example, ebook and some in-world experience. So you can read something like the full story with thousands of words, but experience the idea that the author has in-world by walking there and seeing something like that scene, and seeing some actors acting it out. And I think that has a really huge potential.
A few months from that happening, we have some people programming to make that happen now, that you can click a link in a book in Resin World and be in the scene you were reading about. So there are several of us knocking heads together and trying to make this work out. And
Wow, that's amazing. That would be great.
We revolutionize what storytelling is.
That's what I want to get across. This is going to happen.
There's a guy from Kitely who tells me he can do that. I was really busy the day he dropped in to see me. I had like NPCs rezzing all around me. I think we were in the middle of that mirror dance scene, NPCs going every which way, and I said, I can't right now. But I do plan to get over there and chat with him and see how that works.
Who is that, or can you mention?
I can't. I wrote it down in a notebook.
Okay, I understand. At my
but there was
age,
a lot going on.
Yeah, currently we're in kind of a end phase of this thing. We're putting things together, testing them, and of course we're running into quirks or problems that we have to solve, and I think we shall be done on time. But of course, this is alpha software running on alpha software. We are all pioneers here, and well, we shall see.
Well, nothing ever works perfectly, but that's all right. If you ever get it done perfectly, you've got nowhere to go but down.
That's a good point.
Well, I run around with these aphorisms. I just made up another one. You mentioned creativity.
Yeah, I'm going to write that down.
you mentioned creativity, and and you also about coming to an end. And basically, what I say, creativity has no end, and you do not want it to, because your creativity will end when you die. And I don't want my creativity to end before that. Before I die.
Me either.
There you go. So I wonder if we should see if anyone else brought something for the WIP, because we're rolling through time really fast here. I could just talk about this for a couple hours.
No, I could. Yes.
So did anyone else bring anything? I'm going to type this also.
Ruby, did you bring something?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep, we hear you.
Can you guys hear me? Okay.
Yep.
Yes.
I tried to bring something and I couldn't get it out of Kitely. I do want to officially announce today that I have moved Brantley over to the Refuge Grid last week. So I'm very excited about being able to go over there and build now in a way that will be better for me, because I won't have to worry so much about permissions. I've already talked to Seth about it, and we got this plan worked out, so it's pretty good. But at the time being, I am working on a holodeck system. That's why I want to see your progress on this sequencer, because that's something I'm very interested in, not only for the presentation but that we're going to do, but also because this holodeck has something to do with this sequencer. And what it does is it has like my little Dottobot. It has 10 places for actors, for NPC actors to come out. all in the box, all in the stage. It has a stage, and the audience seating pops out with one button. I think it seats 40 people in cushy chairs. It has a lighting system that comes out if you want it to. It has a dance floor if you want it to, you know, for like, or an ice skating rink if you were going to do an ice show on it as part of it. I have plans for an opera place for that, also an opera theater. Anyway, it does these different things, and the idea behind this is so that when you're doing a story, you don't have to use up as much server intensity as you might, because you can use the holodeck a little at a time right from one gizmo, you know,
Right.
from one contraption that looks like a something, and it looks like a stage. It has curtains that open and close. They're already working, and I'm trying to think. Oh, it has sound. It has a sound section, so you can do sound effects at your, you know, like a music board would do, and play sound effects. So again, it goes along with this storyboard idea and this sequencer that you could literally set it up, work out your scenes right there, and then add scenes to it. Whatever's, like you had a Nara on your big oval thing, you know, your big oval disc thing.
Right.
So it kind of combines all those ideas together and makes this stage with an audience theater sitting all in one place. You could do the
That
whole thing.
sounds excellent.
You know, that's my ultimate goal.
Yeah,
I
mine
wish I
too.
could have brought it.
My next Hypergrid story is going to be holodeck stuff, so I'll be
Oh, that'll
tapping
be
you
very,
when the time
very cool.
comes.
Well,
So-
all of the people here, what I'm trying to do is get the basic one ready. Then there'll be additions like add-ons that we can add on, but I want to make the basic one ready for the the premiere day, the 7th. I'm trying to get it
Wonderful.
done
So you're going to
that
demonstrate
it'll
that
be ready to
then?
go out.
Oh,
I'm going to
wonderful.
give it to people. It should be completely finished, and they will have that for free. And then if they want it, the idea is, Nara, if our writers group wants to sell them the additional plays, scripts, stories, then they can buy those. Let's like Build-A-Bear, you know? I mean, I spent $183 once on my grandson's Build-A-Bear, and the bear only cost $10. You know, that's the way I looked at it.
Right.
So that's the way this stage works. You buy you get the basic setup for free, and then if you want to be a story builder or storyteller, you can add all the things on. So all I want to do is get with you guys about this sequencer, and I love that idea about being able to pop into the story, because if you listen to Rand's thing about the new abduction story coming out, and I call them stories because they're really stories. The biggest thing he says is being able to come into the story and not have to go all the way back to the beginning again, because people want to, you know, move forward in it just like they do when they're reading, as they're making their transformation.
Right.
So, like Serene, I could talk about this all day.
Okay, well, these boxes
It
down
is
here,
all day
Ruby,
project.
go ahead and grab one before you leave, and you can holler
I
if you need
grabbed
help.
that brown one there, so I'm sorry I was late. I was trying to get that contraption over here, but
You can get the
it
gray
means
one,
that Elin and I
too.
have to have a little talk today again. Uh-oh.
Just be aware, it's work in progress. The latest
Oh, I
version
understand
that I had put out here, or
just so-
I can put it out here again, that's actually
So
a
thrilled.
thing that I want people to use if they're using the sequencer right now. It has some differences to the previous ones, so you can use link touch. You can either touch a thing as usual, or you can touch a sub link of a link set in there, but this is not documented yet, so you can use it. It should be more stable than the old version. It should be better to use, because the owner can, for example, reset it during the story flow. So if you have a long story flow, something goes wrong, you can just click it and it resets. So these are, in my opinion, that's the best version so far, but it's far from a productive version, so you cannot just put it out on the net and say, hey, everybody use it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
to upgrade the scenes you have already done with earlier versions, do you just change out the script?
You just change out the script. I've tried to make it 100% compatible. There are two major changes that might require or can be used to change the storylines. One is the naming. We had the problem that we need a first name, last name in there. I've changed that, so now you can put in first name dot last name instead of the first name blank last name. You can use both, so it doesn't really matter. But if you put in the dot, then you can also put just a dot in it, and it has a blank first name and a blank last name. Beware, I'm not sure if that will work with all the things. It might crash whatever PMAC you sit them on or whatever. So this is a more or less undocumented feature that I just put in to give it a try. Besides that, I think this one should be the version to use, but it's no official release yet, so don't kill me if something goes wrong. If it breaks, you keep all the pieces.
I certainly will.
Well, we're going to have to be adjourned. I'm going to have to go off in a few minutes, very few minutes, to meet for another meeting. And we're coming close to the end of the hour that we allowed for that, so we probably should stick to that time. Do we have anything else that's important? Urgent, needs to be done right now. I gathered nobody else is ready, was interested in presenting. They would have already presented.
Well, thank you all for coming.
Man, thank you for presenting.
Thank you, Nara.
I'm
Thank you
afraid
so
a lot
much.
of our presenters
This
are
is so
still.
exciting.
I think we've recruited all the presenters to work for us on this project, but
Yeah, maybe.
free in a few more weeks.
Mm-hmm.